Your gut is talking to your brain right now. The question is, what is it saying? If you're dealing with brain fog, anxiety, or stubborn inflammation, the answer might be in your microbiome. And on this week's episode, I want to break down the tiny molecules that your gut bacteria make that could change everything about how you think, feel, and heal. So, stay tuned. Hey friend, welcome to Gut Fix. Are you ready to finally get rid of those debilitating digestive symptoms? Do you catch yourself staying up late Googling things like, what can I eat? Or how do I stop a flare? Or maybe you're just lying awake wondering, how did this ever happen to me? I'm Wendy, and I've been exactly where you are, desperately searching for answers, but determined to find natural solutions. And like you, I was overwhelmed by all the conflicting information out there and unsure of what might really work for me. And so now in this podcast, I'm here to share with you what I've learned, how to listen to your body's signals, and uncover the common mistakes that might be standing in the way of your healing. So grab your favorite drink, pop in your earbuds, and let's dive into your health transformation together. Hey my friends, and welcome back to Gut Fix. So today I want to dive into a topic that connects two parts of your body that we've talked about before, but you may not really realize that are constantly in conversation. And I mean constantly, forever, always talking to one another. And that's your gut and your brain. And if you've ever experienced brain fog, which I think we can all probably say we have, and brain fog is just really not thinking clearly, kind of feeling like a little, like cobwebs in your head. Sometimes it might be after a heavy meal. Maybe you've had those butterflies in your stomach when you've been nervous, and you felt like this connection firsthand. And you felt either one of these things firsthand. But the science goes way beyond that and goes much deeper than just a feeling. And so I wanted to start unpacking an incredible analysis by Dr. Joseph Mercola, on how specific chemicals produce your digestive tract actually influence your brain's ability to handle stress, manage your memory, and control your inflammation. And we're talking about the microbiota, your gut-brain axis, and specifically the unsung heroes of your microbiome, and that is the short-chain fatty acids, or they're also known as SCFAs. So grab your cup of tea and let's dive in. So I want to start with a very mind-blowing fact. Your gut bacteria don't just help you digest food. They act as microscopic chemical factories, producing compounds that your brain literally depends on to function properly. And one of the most powerful of these chemicals is the short-chain fatty acid called butyrate. And butyrate is produced when specific beneficial gut microbes ferment dietary fiber. So once it's created, butyrate does some pretty heavy lifting. So first it serves as the primary fuel source for the cells that are lining the colon. And it keeps that intestinal wall very strong and very healthy. So, no leaky gut, right? You've heard me talk about leaky gut before. So these short chain fatty acids are going to help keep that intestinal wall very strong and very healthy. But it doesn't stop there. So butyrate also acts as a chemical messenger, and it's sending signals throughout the body and all the way up to your brain. So researchers have actually linked healthy butyrate levels to how well the brain handles stress, and how we process hunger, how sharp our memory is, and how our bodies manage inflammation. But here's the problem. Our standard American diet, our modern diets, have essentially muted this internal chemical communication. And in the US, for example, the average fiber intake is somewhere around 15 to 20 grams a day. Now, to put that in perspective, hunter-gatherer groups, they consume an estimated of 80 to 150 grams of fiber daily. So you can see we are at a big deficit. And you might have heard that, recently, is you need to up your fiber. So because we aren't eating enough fiber, our gut bacteria aren't producing enough butyrate. And when that butyrate drops, your body pays a very steep price. The cells lining that colon weaken, leading to that increased permeability or leaky gut. And of course, when you have that leaky gut, bacterial toxins they can slip through the intestinal wall and into your bloodstream. And that can kick off a whole cascade of systemic inflammation. And, over time, research suggests that chronic inflammation, that chronic inflammatory state, is linked to cognitive complaints like mood symptoms, anxiety, depression, also linked to insulin resistance, and even conditions as varied as type 2 diabetes, Parkinson's, and ulcerative colitis. So, let's talk about the inflammation. The gut origin inflammation, when you have inflammation that starts in your gut, it doesn't stay in your gut. It travels. It's been associated with neurodegenerative processes and mood disturbances. So there is a saying out there, leaky gut, leaky brain, right? Because the brain also has a blood-brain barrier. And when that gets leaky, that can be caused by chronic inflammation, then you have leaky brain. And butyrate appears to kind of dampen that inflammatory response by supporting regulatory T cells and calming down inflammatory macrophages. So, second, those short-chain fatty acids, they influence your hormones, specifically the ones that control your appetite and your weight. So, when your gut bacteria produce short-chain fatty acids, it triggers the release of the hormone like GLP-1 and peptide YY. Now, you've heard a lot of the GLP-1 talk, right? And you can actually help naturally boost your GLP-1. So, and these are the hormones that tell your brain, hey, I'm full. And they help you regulate your blood sugar. And interestingly, blockbuster weight loss drugs like Ozempic act the very same way in that GLP-1 receptor pathway. But a very balanced gut microbiome supports your body's natural GLP-1 signaling. So third, and perhaps maybe the most fascinating, is how butyrates affect the brain directly. So in lab studies, butyrate has been shown to inhibit certain enzymes that lead to an epigenetic effect that increases the expression of BDNF, or brain-derived neurotrophic factor. And BDNF is, think of it like fertilizer for your brain. It's a protein that's very crucial for learning. It's crucial for memory and also for mood regulation. So, short chain fatty acids also help to regulate the HPA axis, which is your body's stress response system. So, high short chain fatty acid levels track with lower self-reported anxiety and greater emotional resilience under stress, meaning you can just handle stress better when you have higher short chain fatty acids. Conversely, when you are very low, you have more anxiety. So the $1 million question is, how do we get more of this magical butyrate? Can we just take a pill? Well, as we've kind of been taught that's kind of the thing, right? You're either taking a medication or you're taking a supplement to kind of fix everything. And while humans don't produce meaningful amounts of butyrate on their own, we do have to rely on gut bacteria to make it from fermentable fiber. So if you don't provide the fiber to the gut, the microbial community kind of shifts in a much more unfavorable direction. And short chain fatty acid output, it tends to drop or even plummet. But if you're currently dealing with particular gut issues like bloating, maybe pain after eating fiber, chronic diarrhea, food intolerances, you can't just suddenly start eating 50 grams of fiber a day. That's not going to be a good thing. If your gut is compromised, throwing high fiber food like beans, oats, raw greens, all added at once, it will actually backfire on you. And the wrong bacteria will actually ferment those foods very quickly. And that can cause, gas and pressure and more inflammation. So you have to rebuild the environment first. And how do you do that? So step number 1, first of all, you've got to calm the gut. If your gut's inflamed, you have to start with simple, very easy to digest carbohydrates like whole fruits. And these provide steady energy for you, and white rice. These are going to provide steady energy for you without feeding bacterial overgrowth. You need to give the intestinal lining a chance to settle down. So once your symptoms ease, step number 2 happens, where you can gradually introduce specific foods that feed that butyrate producing bacteria. And the stars of the show here are resistant starches. So, things like cooked but then cooled white potatoes or bananas, green bananas. And if you tolerate those, you can slowly add inulin foods like garlic, onions, leeks, things like that. These are very specific fibers that bypass digestion in the small intestine and make it all the way down to the colon when they serve as a feast for your short chain fatty acid producing microbes, right? So it's just really they bypass that small intestine altogether. And then step number 3, which we should all be doing anyway, and it's a big one, is to ditch the vegetable oils. So polyunsaturated fats, specifically high amounts of linoleic acid found in soybean oil, corn oil, sunflower oil, canola oil, they are known to disrupt beneficial gut microbes. And so swap them out for very stable cooking fats like grass-fed butter, ghee, tallow. You want to create an internal terrain where the good guys have a lot of room to grow. And then step number 4 is we got to go beyond food. So your gut ecosystem is shaped by your daily habits. And you've heard me talk about this so many times before, but chronic stress has been shown to reduce short chain fatty acid production at the microbial level. So managing stress through things like box breathing, your deep breathing throughout the day, going for a walk, even if it's 15 minutes after a meal. It isn't just good for your mind, it's literally going to change your gut chemistry. Also getting that morning sunlight to help regulate your circadian rhythm, ideally with no sunglasses on. That's going to support your gut barrier function. And then, make sure that you stop eating at least 3 hours before you go to bed and give your digestive system time to clean up and rest overnight. So, rebuilding your gut's capacity to produce butyrate, it's not going to be an overnight fix, but it is going to be one of the most profound things that you can do for your overall health. By feeding your microbiome the right substrates, you're fueling your colon that can help keep your gut barrier very strong. It can dampen that systemic inflammation, and it can send very powerful protective chemical signals right straight to your brain. So if you want to dive deeper into Dr. Mercola's protocol, he wrote a book called Gut Cure, Stop the Rot, Restoring Your Body from the Inside Out, and lays out the full science step-by-step in a step-by-step guide. So remember, we've talked about this before, but remember your gut and your brain, they're a team. They are, like I said, they are constantly talking to one another. And when you take care of the microbes in your digestive tract, they're going to take care of your mind. So if this has been helpful, head on over and you want to dive deeper. You want to do a bit of a deeper dive. You want to know more. You want to know more about your personal situation. You're dealing with something, chronic, some sort of chronic health issue that you want answers to. Hop on over to my website, wendyhandy.com, and, just sign up for a free discovery call. Until next time, trust your gut, and most importantly, feed it well, because it's gonna affect your mind. Hey friend, I hope today's episode brought you some real value. If it did, would you take just 30 seconds to share it with a friend who might be struggling to get her gut in check? And if you're feeling extra generous, leave me a review on Apple. It absolutely lights me up knowing that this podcast is making a difference for you. All right, it's time for me to grab my protein shake and get my gut happy. I'll see you back here next Tuesday for another episode of Gut Fix. And until then, stay happy and stay healthy.